welcome to the program. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, 651-775-9194. That's the number to call. That's the number everybody's calling.
It's the red phone.
To get a hold, that's the hotline number to get a hold of the lovely and talented Sheila, or go to ourhealthyhomes.com. Lots of stuff to look at there. Lots of DIY stuff on there. The blog
DIY.
is super duper. What do I say?
It's do it yourself.
Yeah, what do I say?
You say DIY.
DIY.
Do yourself it.
Yes,
Okay.
do yourself it.
All right, do yourself it. All right. Ourhealthyhomes.com, where we study and examine the 4 pillars of a healthy home, and that is the house itself, right? You got to have a nice structure, nice home, a good place to live. You got to have a good ecosystem inside that house. No poisons on the floor for the kids to lick on and the dogs to lick on. You got to have a good, strong body. Do your exercise, move your body, eat the right foods, good nutrition, and your mind and spirit are so, so important. Those are the 4 elements of a healthy home. And today on the program, we have Justin McNeil from Minnesota Recovery Connection. And it's minnesotarecovery.org, and their number is 651-432-7113, 651-432-7113. So we're going to have a nice conversation with Justin, just kind of find out what that organization is all about. But before we get started...
Did you bring your tissues?
Yes, before we get started.
Yes.
Yeah. Inside jokes, no inside
Yes, right.
jokes.
Okay.
On the
Okay.
radio.
No inside
All
jokes
right.
on the radio. Okay. Yes.
Before we get started.
Yes. I'm super excited. We are doing our Detox Your Home Challenge again.
Oh, good.
So we start on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to participate in it, you just text me samples at 651-775-9194. 651-775-9194. And
Text the word samples.
text the word samples.
Okay.
And I'll reach out to you, and we send you 3 household cleaning samples that are
wonderful.
plant-based.
Okay.
And you join us on a Facebook group, and we every day give you a sample. You do this with the sample, and then you tell us what you thought. Maybe take a picture, maybe take a video if that's your thing. Just participate in the closed Facebook challenge. Of course, we give away prizes, right?
naturally.
Yeah,
Gotta
we have
have
to
a
give away
free,
prizes
fabulous
every night.
prize.
Yes. And then every night we go and have a Zoom so that we can answer your questions.
Okay.
Because you can't interact on Facebook.
So it's fun.
It's super fun. We did it a month or so ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really pleased with the people that came and the questions that they had and how much they participated. So looking forward to this one as well.
Thank you. Justin McNeil, thanks for having a name I can pronounce.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you are here from Minnesota Recovery Connection. And so if you can just give us a top-down 10,000 square foot description of what that organization actually does. What's your mission? What do you do?
Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody that's listening. I'm so glad to be here today. My name's Justin McNeil, and I am a person in long-term recovery. What that looks like is I no longer use any of those substances that ruined my life. It's been about 6 years, and I get to give back to my community instead of take from it. And so that was a big reason I started working at Minnesota Recovery Connection, which is a community-based organization that focuses on recovery from addiction for anyone at any level, wherever they're at in life.
Any drug, any gambling, like any addiction.
Yeah, any addiction.
Okay, all right.
And so we may help people navigate how to get into treatment, or maybe someone doesn't want to go to treatment and they just need additional support and figuring out how to get their lives together. And the biggest group I think we work with, though, are people who are coming out of addiction treatment. What do you need for housing? Where are you going to get a job? Do you need to reconnect with your family? What are you going to do for community support? And we do this all through something called peer recovery support, which is people in recovery who've navigated it successfully, helping guide you through your recovery, whatever that looks like.
How long has Minnesota Recovery Connection been around?
I think about 13 years now.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how long have you been there?
I have been there for 5 years.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how did you find them?
Well, funny enough, I was in treatment 6 years ago,
Mhm.
and it was a really long-term treatment where they really kept a hold on you, and finally they gave me some slack and let me go back out into the community, and I needed a place to volunteer that I knew would be safe and around people in recovery, so I started volunteering where I now work.
Do they continue to need volunteers?
Absolutely. And with the website that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, minnesotarecovery.org, you can click on volunteer and sign up. And that looks like you can call people and give them support calls. You can answer phones, build manuals, do some cleaning stuff. We really have a lot of different volunteer opportunities. And we also do community-based events that people can volunteer at.
So, who is your primary customer, I guess, if you will? I mean, are you offering your services for treatment centers or for individuals?
Individuals, that's a really good question. So a lot of people get confused with our organization because there's, it's kind of an ongoing joke that Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes when in reality it's the land of 10,000 treatment centers.
Right.
There's treatment centers everywhere. But where treatment fails is they don't follow people into the community. As soon as you're done with treatment and services are over. And so that's really where we step in, is once you're going back to the community after getting out of treatment, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so non-clinical, all based on peer recovery support, and just instead of saying this is what you need to do, we ask people more so what do you want to do with your life? And then we help them get there by empowering them to make better choices.
Explain to me peer recovery support.
Yeah. So like I had said before, it's someone who's in recovery, at least a year or more, who's successfully navigated their own recovery, helping other people who are newer in recovery figure out what they may need. And so it's voluntary. I'm not forcing you to sign up for it, and I'm going to walk alongside you. And instead of saying what's wrong with you, we're going to focus on what's going right. What are your strengths? What are you good at? Where do you want to go with this newfound recovery you have? What's going to make you happy and maintain that happiness? And so we ask questions like that, and we connect people to resources and help empower them to do the work. So you're going to work with me, but I'm not going to do all the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-way street sort of thing.
How many places are there in the cities like yours?
In the Twin Cities, so what we're called, the official name of Minnesota Recovery Connection, is something called a Recovery Community Organization.
Okay.
And in the Twin Cities, I think there's about 6 other ones. People start them on their own, though, so they're not MRC-run ones.
MRC, what does that mean?
Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Oh, got it.
So like
Oh,
where
got
I
it.
work, someone can say, I want an organization like that, and then start their own.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not affiliated, even though we're the similar type of services.
Is there collaboration?
Oftentimes there is collaboration. A good example is the programs I run there specifically work with people who are in the criminal justice system. I'm a person that was in and out of the criminal justice system until I found my recovery, and how surprising is that? You change your life, you get away from the drugs,
Yeah,
you stop
amazing.
committing crimes, right?
It's shocking.
Yeah. And so I run programs trying to connect with people in probation, or they may currently be incarcerated and saying, man, I can't do this anymore. And so we're going to connect with you before you get out so you have a plan when you get out. Because there was many times when I was in jail, I had every intention on changing, but I went back to the same environment. And
It's what you knew.
yeah, it's what I knew. And if I would have realized there might have been some services where someone could talk to me beforehand, and maybe even pick me up from jail and bring me to wherever I need to go, I might have found recovery sooner.
So there really isn't a place where you go to treatment, and then there isn't like another facility to.
Do aftercare.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and so, most treatment programs, some are getting better, but most of them have aftercare programs, or you go in once a week for a couple months. But as soon as that aftercare is done, services are over. And what we like to say is you initiate recovery and treatment, however long that takes, but the real recovery happens is when you go back to your everyday life, when you have to do the test of having your kids back in your life, getting a job, paying your bills, keeping your spouse happy, whatever it is, right? Like it's a lot, and that's usually where why we have such low rates of success with treatment is people aren't prepared for what's coming next.
So
And not prepared to go back into that environment to be able to handle what that was.
Yes, right? And
Right?
a lot of where returns to use happen is as soon as someone goes home. It's just so stressful they don't know anything else, so they go back to what they know.
right. Well, yeah. What's comforted them in the past? I want to speak to relapse rate and the recovery community when we come back from break, and divorce rate in recovered people. If you've got any insight on that, I'd be interested to hear about that
Yes.
as well. This is Our Healthy Homes. OurHealthyHomes.com, 651-775-9194, 651-775-9194. Got my teeth wrapped around, or my tongue wrapped around my teeth. Couldn't see what I was saying. Speak to the lovely and talented Sheila. OurHealthyHomes.com. We'll be right back. Again, Justin McNeil is on the program from Minnesota Recovery Connection, and we're talking about recovery. And as it pertains to living in a healthy home, it is one of the actually the body part and the mind and spirit part of living in a healthy home. Again, you have the 4 pillars of a healthy home: your house, the ecosystem, your body, your mind, and your spirit. And if any one of those are out of whack, guess what? The roof falls down. It's just a matter of
Shingles
time.
start falling off.
That's right. All right, so Sheila, just remind them again about what you've got coming up.
Tuesday the 24th, 24, 25, 26, a 3-day Detox Your Home Challenge. I spoke to a young mom the other day, and she said it's just so overwhelming. It's just so overwhelming. So we want to take that overwhelmingness out and make it easier for you.
And fun.
And so you get 3 samples. You join us in a closed Facebook group for 3 days. We educate you. You get the samples. You join us on a Zoom. You win a prize. And then we answer your questions, and
away you go.
away you go.
So it's so simple. Just text
It is.
SAMPLE to
Yep.
651-775-9194. Text SAMPLE 651-775-9194.
It's okay if it's plural, too.
Yeah, you could say samples. Nothing's going to happen. It's just a
Right.
text message.
It'll be okay.
Text message that comes into Sheila's cell phone is all it is. All right. Justin, so when we went out to break, I just had a question about the relapse rate, because you mentioned it in the last segment of the relapse rate is so high when people come out of treatment. Do you have any idea what the stats are on that? I don't.
So, Minnesota ranks in the bottom for treatment completion,
Okay.
even though we have so many treatment centers, where 1 out of 10 people who seek treatment get it. And then I think it's upwards of 50% leave treatment less than halfway through. And then the people that do complete it, it's anywhere between 65 to 75% of them will have returned to use in less than a year.
Oh, wow.
And depending where you look, sometimes people even throw out numbers like 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
Does that matter on what the addiction was?
No, it
Okay.
really doesn't.
So it doesn't matter if it was
discriminate.
gambling or
Yeah.
drinking or, okay.
Yeah, they'll have some sort of problematic use or return to behavior or whatever it is.
Does it matter, do you think, as how long people have been using?
I think
in
that
terms
that's
of their
a
recovery, is that a factor?
big factor. I think however long you use, it's parts of your brain stop developing. So
Okay.
if you started at a really young age, it makes it much harder to deal with problems. I knew for me, so I started using at 15. But though my cognitive stuff was a lot better when I first went to treatment, or this last time I went to treatment and I found recovery, there were other areas that were terrible, like learning how to be in relationships in recovery, whether that was intimate or even friendships. It was like I was in high school again. I had to learn it all over again. And so it's kind of different factors for each person.
Funny because, not funny, but interesting. When I'm a divorce real estate specialist. And so we look at the statistics of divorce. About half the people in the country are going to get divorced. Recovering people, I would say this, homes where both parties are still actively using, it's about the same as the national average, about half. A recovering house, the stats go up. It's about 60% of those marriages will end as a result of somebody who has been using and abusing, even though they are now recovered.
One recovered or both recovered? One.
Well, when you have both recovering, then you're really going to blow it up because now they're going in different directions and they've got a different worldview of their experience as they recover. When you've had one person that has been using and the other person has not, and now that person who has been using, doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, quits. They come out of treatment and they're like feeling good, euphoric and all that. The person who has not been using has 10 years of charcoal
Right.
Yes.
right?
Suffering, pain.
Right,
name it.
suffering and
Resentment,
pain.
yeah.
And so
Ooh,
now this
baby.
person comes out of treatment, they're like, yeah, I feel great. This
Right.
is wonderful. And the person who has been,
Beat on.
beat on for the
Yep.
last 10 years
Yep.
are like, you SOB, I am so out of here, because you shouldn't feel that good. Or they have, it gets, they use the charcoal as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So they weaponize the recovery and then use it against the person who has recovered. And now that person who has recovered has a choice to make. They can either continue in this downward spiral and maybe relapse, or get out, and so that they can be free. So the divorce rates on people who have recovered, I don't want to scare anyone out of recovering, but facts are facts. When you come out,
And you need the support when you come out.
You
I
need
mean,
the
you
support,
need the
and-
support when you come out. That's why I got
that's
Justin
exactly,
here.
and that's why, and that's where we're going down. So my question to you is, okay, so I'm out of recovery, or out of treatment,
Yeah.
and I know I need something because I'm still spinning.
Yep.
So I find my way to you. How would they even find their way? How would they even know to contact you?
They would just call our main number.
But how would they know to call your main number?
Right,
like, how do
they
how do
find
they even
out
know
about
you
you?
How do they
exist?
find out? All right, good question.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of outreach as well. So there's a whole host of treatment centers we go to once
Okay.
a month and
Okay.
just talk about our services. If there's conventions in town, whether it's healthcare related, recovery related, anywhere where we can get a table, we'll table at events
Okay.
and let like caseworkers
Sure.
and people know. And then another big thing we do is in September, which is National Recovery Month, we do something called the Walk for Recovery.
Uh-huh.
And we usually get about 5,000 people who attend in recovery and their family members. And there's live music, there's food trucks, there's vendor booths with resources, face painting, and then everyone does a big walk for recovery. And that's another way.
How
Just
long's the
give me-
walk?
It's like it's at the state capitol grounds, and you walk around it like twice, so like
Oh.
half a mile
Oh,
or so.
all
It's
right.
not bad.
Okay.
Used to be Lake of the Isles, which was like
Oh, yeah.
3 or so.
Yeah.
You walk around the block, Sheila, so you can
Okay, I
you
can
can
do it.
you
handle
can make
I
it.
can do it. I
Yeah.
can do it. Yeah, I can
Maybe
do it.
you can all even have a table there next
There you
year.
go.
That's right.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So they come out, okay, so they find their way, and you've got the programs in place. You've got your peer recovery support and such, and you're dealing with people fresh out of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
What's the longevity of that?
Yeah. Did you have a question,
I
Claire?
have a question that's about the recovery
Okay.
out of treatment.
Okay.
So, is that out of inpatient treatment or is that out of any kind of treatment?
Usually any kind of treatment, but a lot of people we see is once they get out of inpatient.
Okay,
When you're an
inpatient,
inpatient,
okay.
you're not allowed a cell phone, anything like that.
Okay.
So once they have some more freedom to
Mhm.
meet with
Okay.
someone.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I
But
didn't mean to interrupt.
that looks like we meet with someone as long as they want. That could be a couple sessions all the way up to like 5 years.
Okay.
It really depends on the individual. But the idea is someone's life, and I'm sure it's a lot like the work you do with Young Living and then also the 4 pillars and all that is people get to a point where their lives get so good they don't need your guidance anymore.
They don't think
And
they need it.
They don't think they need it, right? But the idea is eventually to be able to let go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just if they need you, they'll reach out.
I got
but
this.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got this. I can do it.
Yeah.
hmm And isn't that where you want to get them?
Yes. And
Right?
so sometimes it's, you meet someone 2 or 3 times a week and it slowly tapers to monthly after a year. It just really depends on what the person needs.
Do they come to your office? Do you go to their house? Like what
we
does
do it all. So we have mobile peer recovery specialists, which most other places don't. So we can meet you over the phone, on Zoom. You can come to our office. We can take you out for coffee. We could come to your home if you're comfortable with that. We really just do it all. So it's nice.
We have I've known people who have been sober for 10 years
Mhm.
and have relapsed for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
really
Is there any
sad.
connection there between the support they have or their whatever services that they elicit and the length of time that the longer that they do it, the less likely that
Mhm.
they're going to? I mean, what's
Yeah.
the hope?
Well, it's hard, like you said, with 10 years, but what they say is once you can get past 5 years of recovery, you are 80% chance that you will recover for the rest of your life, where you won't have any problematic use or anything come
Okay,
up.
so let's look at that. 5 years. If you really look at that, that's not a long time.
No.
I mean, in the big scheme of things,
Mhm.
every day does it seem like a long time? Sure, because it's every day, one day at
Yeah.
a time, that kind of thing. But, Like 5 years goes by, boom,
Mhm.
like that. So that's not bad.
It's not bad, and it's. I think the idea is like your brain healed, your body heals because it takes time. Like
It does
even
take
though you
time.
get well fast, it takes time. Like for me, I just got to 6 years, and at year 5 is when I started to figure out who I was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just bouncing around for years trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, who is Justin, and at 5 years I finally figured it out. But yeah, they say 80% chance you'll recover the rest of your life without any problematic substance use, where you are at a place where you would be just like anybody else
Can I
if you
ask you
don't
how
use.
old you are?
Yeah, 36.
36.
Yeah.
So you've been sober for 6,
Mm-hmm.
and so you were 30.
Yeah, life changed at
So
30.
that's a young age. I think that's a young age. And the younger, it's harder,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I would say even younger, like mid
20.
Well, there's lots of youth who are
Yeah.
using too, but like 16 to 25, because that's what kids do. They get
Mhm.
together and they party. And I don't want to make a blanket statement, but
Right, but
that's like the experimental stage, the college
Right.
stage. But luckily, you're seeing lots of recovery groups that are for young people.
Nice.
very interesting. Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, 651-775-9194. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, where we examine the 4 pillars of a healthy house, of a healthy home. We talk about the house itself. That's one pillar. We talk about the ecosystem, the things that are going on inside that house in terms of what you're using and the products that you use. We talk about the body. Got to move that body, keep it strong and powerful. And we talk about mind and spirit. We're focusing today on the last 2 components of that, mind and spirit. Let's just talk about the body now. How important is it, or was it for you, to have the physical part of recovery, part of the one component of your recovery? I mean, did you start like going to exercising? Do you have exercise programs that you offer at the thing, or some coaching in that line at Minnesota Recovery, or how does that fit in?
Well, I would say first, it's really interesting when you kind of talk about your 4 pillars is in the recovery world, at least the recovery community organization world where I work, we have something we call recovery capital.
Mm-hmm.
And recovery capital is what is all the resources, internal and external, that someone has going for them to sustain recovery. And you see many different versions of it, but it's usually mental, physical, spiritual, and social. And almost everything in your life can fall under these 4 categories, however you slice it up. And so we'll work with people. And sometimes if they're not sure what to work on, we'll have them fill out a little scale, and you can see areas where they're not doing that. For me, exercise, I started doing that for the first time in my life when I was in treatment, has been the main thing that keeps me going.
Interesting.
So I do it first thing in the morning, 5 days a week, and I'll know if I miss a bunch of days, I start to get off. If I'm really stressed, it's a good way to like work out stress. And you see that happen for the most part with a lot of people in recovery. They start watching what they're eating, exercising. Not everybody, though. Some people are just going to keep going the way they're going. But it's a big piece. People start improving their life, and so they say, what's next? Is it quitting smoking? Is it working out?
And we find that same thing in when people decide to get healthy, and that they do look at all of those elements, and there isn't one that you leave out. Physical movement is so important, and there's such this trend right now, the caveman diet and all that stuff, and going back and I was doing some reading earlier in the week, and they were talking about movement and exercise, and they said, the cavemen, if you like that concept, guess what? They didn't work out 20 minutes a day. They didn't work out at all. They moved. They never stopped moving. And so we have a very sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
So in order for us, we need to go to the gym, and we need to do all this stuff and this structured exercise, and that's super duper for a lot of people. But there are a lot of people who have gym memberships and haven't been to the gym in 15 years.
Yes.
But they pay the bill every month, and I am one of them. But it's just about moving your body. There is something that is healing about just, if it's walking, or if it's doing some yard work, or if it's just whatever it is, just move the body, and then pay attention while you're doing that, and you'll find that well, I find anyhow that you just feel better.
Yes, and I've had some people say to me before, and I use that. It's a great great thing to say is if you don't use it, it rusts.
Right.
And so it's like, even if you're not that physical, just get moving around or you're going to start getting issues from just, because my job all day I sit in front of a computer.
Right.
So I got to get some of that energy out. And it feels good to be in great shape. It feels good to make healthier choices when you eat, even though sometimes that can be overwhelming and difficult. When you get on a good track, it's what it's all about.
Well, some of that too is just a matter of the pride that one takes in the self-discipline, because there is a healing and a pride in just that. You know, that I don't eat a lot of sugar.
Yep.
Because I know that it's not good for me, and I don't do things anymore that aren't good for me.
Right.
So because of that, I have become a person who does not eat a lot of sugar.
I want to know when the treatment centers are going to open up for sugar addiction. That's what I want to know.
Right.
Because seriously,
What's that idea? Like, why would you willingly keep poisoning yourself with something that's creating disease in you?
because
Right.
sugar's more addictive than cocaine.
Right.
So there we are.
We talk about that a lot in the recovery. We point that out when I do a lot of trainings as well. Just a lot of topics around recovery is there's always people really quick to point out whatever medications you're on. People are really nosy in the recovery world as they're sitting there chain smoking a cigarette and drinking
Right.
a Monster Energy drink back to back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, dude, no, there's a heart attack coming.
Yeah.
The people that have recovered, are we all OCD? Or
I'm
not
very
really?
OCD.
Yeah, I think that's part of the addictive personality.
I think so too. I think so too.
that
Yeah,
deal.
you never quite get rid of it. It
No.
kind of jumps. It may be a healthier thing. Like
Yeah.
mine
Yeah,
kind of
right.
jumped to exercise and cleaning
right,
and
right.
whatever else.
Right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay. Right.
Because it's just socially
What you
it's
focus
better
on
for
expands. So
Yep. And if you
Focus on
switch
something
from
better for you.
if I flip from methamphetamine to eating vegetables,
Yeah,
that's
it's
probably not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing
But
at all.
I would say too, you speak on discipline. I think that's how I've managed to stay in recovery and get so much things done in my career and my personal life. Is my life was nothing before I started implementing discipline. Simple as something as getting up in the morning and make sure you make your bed. So that even if I've had a terrible day, I get home and I see that bed made.
You
and
got
it
a
looks
nice
so
fresh-
comfy.
yeah. Yep.
and you put a big smile on your
Yeah.
face because you see that you did that task.
I'll talk about interventions. I mean, you've
Ooh.
have a lot of experience
boy.
with interventions with people coming out of it. And what is your experience with the success of interventions? People are listening right now and they think, "Oh, golly, my brother could use someone to step in and take him in to task, and we got to get him cleaned up." What is the success rate of that, in your opinion?
So I believe there's approaches that work, but the approach that most people use is just like the TV show Intervention, where we're going to surprise attack someone with all our loved ones. We're all going to read you letters about how much you've hurt us and then try to force you to go to treatment. Not just people who are in addiction, but anybody, when you try to force them to do something, usually wants to do the exact opposite.
Right.
And so I don't know the exact number, but I know the rates aren't good. Or people will go to treatment and then they'll abscond once
Right.
they get there. There is a form out there, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's called CRAFT, C-R-A-F-T. And it's a form of non-coercive, non-judgmental approach with using interventions, and they have a really good success rate. Another fact is I kind of feel it's like a scam because people who are interventionalists, that's all they do, they charge 10 or 15 grand
Whoa.
per person for one session,
Well, we didn't pay that. What was ours for my?
And I mean, you could shop around. It's
Yeah,
probably
right.
somewhere less, but a lot of
Right.
them now, it's like I've been seeing it 8 to 15 grand.
To do an intervention,
Yeah.
conduct the intervention,
Yeah.
get it set up, meet with the family before,
Yeah.
get it all planned out, have the theater of the intervention,
Yeah.
ship the person off. Do you agree to go to treatment right now?
Yeah.
Then ship them off, and then while they're in treatment, they're just planning on how they're going to get the H out of there.
And I'm just going to say, from a person that did an intervention on somebody, on a family member, it was a pretty emotional and horrible experience.
Yeah, probably for everyone involved.
For everyone.
Yeah, but it's like, because I'm of the mentality, okay, that if something's broken, we fix it.
Aren't we all, right?
Okay, but no, like there's a lot of people that aren't. So you you have this problem. You've lost everybody. You've lost everything in your life. So let's fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for me, for somebody that's on this side of the street, that has somebody that they love and care about, that they're thinking, oh, I should do this intervention on, right? It wasn't so much for me that I wanted to do the intervention on her. It was more God telling me that if I don't try this, I'm going to feel really guilty if she goes and gets in a car accident and kills herself,
And you didn't do
somebody
everything
else,
that you
and
possibly
I
could do.
didn't do everything that I possibly could have. So I know that doing that was for me,
Yes.
so that when and if that happened, I was not going to feel guilty about that happening.
Well, and when it's someone you love, and I wouldn't say this is crazy things that happen, but family members and loved ones will go to the ends of the earth to try to help
Right.
them.
Right.
And
Right.
it's so much harder when you care about them, but the hardest part, too, to get families to realize is it's completely out of their control.
Yep.
That there's nothing you can say or do that is going to force that person to change. They have to come up to that, sometimes the window is a little bit of a sliver.
Yeah.
They have to approach you and say, I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
And then you bounce on it.
You're right.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it's hard. So I did it. She went. She came out 60 days
Relapsed.
later, whatever, relapsed, right? And I'm okay with that, right? Because I can't fix her. But you also need to. From my experiences, I have had the conversation with, I can't have a relationship with you anymore. I can't be the
Right.
enabler anymore. I can't have a relationship with you anymore until you stop. Once you stop, I'll be here. I will back you 100% and I'll help you out, but not until then.
Healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery comes
Let's come
from the
back to healthy
inside out.
boundaries.
From the inside out. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com. 651-775-9194. We're here with Justin McNeil, minnesotarecovery.org. And we'll be right back. Back to the program. Thanks for staying with us. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, examining the 4 pillars of a healthy home: house, ecosystem, body, mind, and spirit. We're here with Justin McNeil, 651-432-7113, minnesotarecovery.org.
How much
if
coffee
you
have
want
you
to
had
check
today?
it out. minnesotarecovery.org. Before we get started, Sheila just wants to make one more pitch for her
Detox Your Home Challenge.
All right.
3 days. Join us on Facebook, closed Facebook group. I send you out 3 samples. You use them. You tell us what you thought. We come on a Zoom at night, give you prizes, and answer your questions. And we find that people just need help because they feel it's overwhelming to even start. So we're here to help you start.
So text
651-775-9194, the word sample.
There you go.
Or
All right,
samples.
Or
It
samples.
doesn't matter. It's okay.
When we went out to break, we were just kind of just touched on the topic of boundaries a little bit. So I just want to explore that, and then I want to hear about your organization structure itself. Because when we went there and visited you this week, there was a lot of people there. I was really surprised at how many people were there and the buzz, the activity in there. So I want to find out a little bit about what all these people are doing there. What do they do?
All
Or
right.
all those offices.
All right, so let's just talk about boundaries quickly, and we talk about healthy boundaries, and what are we referring to when we talk about boundaries?
I think there's lots of things with boundaries where that's realizing in your own life it's different for each person, things that you're okay with and not okay with, and when the not okay things are happening, saying, hey, this isn't all right.
Okay.
Or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate in that, whatever it is. It's healthy to know what your life's code is and to live by that.
Yeah.
Some people are bad at it. It took me a while to get boundaries down. But specifically with families, with loved ones who are struggling, you got to learn to set healthy boundaries. Otherwise, it might turn into you're enabling this person. And it's okay, even if you love and care a person, to say, listen, this behavior can't happen in my house. I'm going to have to stop communicating with you for a while until you figure out what you want because it's affecting me so much. There's ways you can set healthy boundaries where it's not being cruel to the individual and it's going to save you some madness in your head, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's the I don't know what the right question is or how to phrase it, but if somebody's out there and they have somebody that's just out of control in their home, you know, a child in the basement, you know, whatever the situation is, a husband out of control. I mean, I don't know.
Child in a basement.
Do they just if they want to just what's the like the 42-hour hold, or you need to get them, you're afraid of them, or you're feeling like you're harmed, do they just call the police and have them taken away? Do they call a treatment center to have them, like, how do they get them out of their house if it's an unsafe atmosphere for them, I guess?
That's definitely a sticky situation. So if they are in harm, they can call the police, and the police will remove them. But also, if there hasn't been anything bad happening, I mean, physical, there can be issues where they can say, well, this person's stuff here, and you can't physically remove them for 30, 60, 90 days, and you have to go through the county and get an eviction notice. So there can be processes. Same with treatment. Someone has to want the treatment. Unless they get in legal trouble, then they may get court ordered to treatment.
Okay.
There's also civil commitments where if you access detox centers and emergency rooms too many times for substance use related stuff, the county or your family may get you committed, but it's a process where you're like mandated for 6 months to live in a special home with a treatment center.
Most people, I find, if they want to recover from whatever it is, it has to come from the inside.
It does, yes.
I mean, they have to want to. You can't force somebody. You can force them into treatment because a court order to treatment. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah, where there was work.
I'm
or
out in
somebody.
28 days. See you then. But they're going to come out the same way they went in, or maybe even a little bit more bitter.
Yeah, they have to want it. That was the only reason I recovered this time. I was so sick of what was happening that even though I was court ordered to treatment, I really knew I needed that.
This
that
time.
This time that I was willing
This time,
to do
how
it.
many times?
Well, I had been to treatment maybe 8 or 9 times throughout my life, ever since I was 15. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So let's look at just a final word on healthy boundaries, because that healthy boundary thing can be applicable if you're a user or not. You have to surround yourself, in my opinion, with people who are uplifting. And if you are, especially at some point in your life, you have people who are toxic to you, and it's just like, I'm going to detach from that person. I just don't want to be around people like that anymore. And you just kind of naturally draw away, and the invitation comes to go over to their house or whatever, and you're looking for an excuse not to. You just don't want to be near them anymore.
And a lot of times that's family.
It could be family, absolutely. So, as an example, in terms of boundaries, you know those garden fences you get from the garden shop, those plastic fences? Sheila put one right down the middle of our bed. I came home one day and that fence is there. I said, "What's that fence?" She said, "Healthy boundaries."
Yes.
All right, so let's just talk about the structure of your organization, because you have all these people there. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, we came in there, how many people, how many offices, things going on here and there. What's an average day look like? Who are these people and what do they do?
Yeah. So, we have 4 or 5 management members. We have our executive director, who kind of just runs all day-to-day operations. We have a director of peer services who oversees all our peer recovery support stuff. We also have a supervisor of peer recovery specialists. So the supervisor deals day-to-day with every single peer recovery specialist. I think we have about 14.
Okay.
Then we have our peer recovery specialists, and
that's who we met.
That's who you met.
Okay.
And they're meeting with people in many different settings, one-to-one, delivering recovery support, whatever that looks like for those people. So some people are doing it in the office, some are out in the field, some are working with child family services, hospitals, justice people, you name it. And then we also have several people, including myself, where we do a whole host of trainings. So you have to go through training to become a peer recovery specialist.
Okay.
Where I work as one of the Minnesota Recovery Connection is one of the premier places to get training. And then we have a whole host of other trainings that we do as well to continue the education for people working in the field.
So this all sounds kind of expensive to me. How is this all funded? I mean, you got a lot of people that are
it's the age-old question
on payroll, on staff, and you got to make the payroll. How does that get paid for?
Everything is grant funded. So
Wow.
what sucks about a lot of community organizations is they're constantly chasing the next paycheck, the next block of money. So we'll see grants are available. We'll apply or submit.
Do you have a grant
RFP.
writer in house then, or
We
do
have
you
a
use
grant
a service?
writer.
Or?
Yep, I have a grant writer, and our executive director is also good at it.
Okay.
And, got to write them and then wait and see if we get it. And you just try to get as many irons in the fire and see what hits. But there's days where we're doing great and flourishing, and then there's days where we're struggle to keep our doors open.
Painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, painful. So when you get a grant like that, just for the audience to understand, a block of money, is that like a one lump sum thing, or is it like over the course of the next 5 years, or is it continuing grant money? Is there that available, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So, you may get something from like a family's foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a one-time installment of, let's say, $20,000 or $50,000. But then there may be a big grant that comes out federally or through the state for substance use support services, and you may offer some of the stuff like the qualifications in their grant proposal. You may be like, hey, we do that, and you apply, and if you get it, it's like $150,000 every year for 3 years. It could be 5 years. Usually you don't see them go longer than that.
So
and people can just donate,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Donate as well.
To
MinnesotaRecovery.org. There's this place right on there, a little button right on there that says donate.
Yes, donate.
So
flashing red
yeah,
lights
flashing
at you
red
on
light.
donate,
Yeah,
donate.
neon spinning around.
right.
It. Do you find yourself in competition with some of the larger, more well-known recovery centers or treatment centers?
Yeah, we're in competition often, and that's one thing that drives me insane about the recovery world is everyone thinks they're in this special little box of their own, and there's not much collaboration. It's more like, this is my special thing, and I want you to have nothing to do with it. And so there's a little collaboration, but for the most part, everyone's in their own silo. And I'm of the opinion is let's work together because we can help more people.
Right. And, yeah, usually the lack of cooperation, you can always track it back to funding.
Yep.
Somewhere, because if they do this on their own, they can get the grant, they can get the funding, and if they collaborate, well, then who's going to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
And where are those resources coming from? How many people? Do you have any sense of how many people that you're working with at any given point in time?
I would say that each week, hundreds of people are served in one form or another, whether that's support calls, one-to-one interactions, thousands over the year. Right now, I don't know why. It's probably just because I'm good at what I do, but the programs around justice-involved stuff is one of our biggest things right now.
So if somebody's listening right now, and I'm sure a lot of people, you can't have a family in any family that doesn't have some family member in trouble, who are in need of services and in need of help, either freshly out of recovery, freshly going into treatment, freshly coming out of treatment, and you want to get connected. You go to MinnesotaRecovery.org. It would be helpful if they're in treatment to probably get them connected with you while they're in treatment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yep.
So that when they come out, there's a smooth transition out. You can help them for whatever period of time that they need the help. And of course, as always, as a thank you, if somebody is using your services, they should probably contribute and help foster it along, and they can do that on MinnesotaRecovery.org. If they want to get a hold of Justin, it's easy, so easy, 651-432-7113. Give him a call. He'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, if you're either for yourself or for a loved one. 651-432-7113. That's Minnesota Recovery Connection, MinnesotaRecovery.org. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com.
But when he calls me sugar, I love that man with all my might. Sugar in the morning, sugar in the afternoon. Sugar after dinner, sugar in every room. He says I'm sweet as I can be. When he calls me that name, it does things to me. I tell him, honey, you can call me sugar.